We're going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just want to make notice of something that might not be very apparent. Corey is with us. He is joining remotely. He's in Pierre, and so he's listening and is able to give a report and take questions. So I just wanted to assure you that he is here. With that, we will move on to our good news report. Do we have one this? Okay, good.
We do.
That is actually you. Thank you.
I'm here.
Hello.
And our good news. Hello. Our good news report is actually very timely. If you have not heard, our $6 million funding bill for the Abner Center just passed the House within the last hour or so. It passed 53 to 14. We needed 47 votes since it was a funding bill. So we even had a couple to spare. So it passed the Senate on Monday, obviously the House today. So it'll now go to Governor Roden's desk for his signature. So that's a huge piece of the funding. So we're excited and appreciative to everyone out in Pierre for supporting Southeast Tech and technical education.
Excellent.
So
thank you.
Good news report.
Well, that is indeed good news. And I don't know if you heard us all wildly clapping and cheering, but we're glad you're there, Corey. You're right where you need to be.
Thank you.
Safe travels back. And thank you for that good news.
Thank you. And I'll be listening in and joining in a little later for one of the last reports. So thank you for your flexibility today.
Can I please get an approval of the minutes from the meeting held on February 4th, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have approved. Do we have anybody wishing to address the school board this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to approval of tonight's agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, seeing no conflicts of interest, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda items. Items A through D. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions, discussion?
Yes. I just want to call to everyone's attention under the approval of contracts. Item B, the Society of Manufacturing Engineers, SME. The cost was not in the information that we received, and so I did confirm that it is $25,000 a year and a 3-year contract.
Writing that down. Excellent. Thank you, Gail. There's ever not any confidence that we look over our materials or do our fiduciary responsibility. You know, that's not accurate. Thank you, Gail. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have approved the consent agenda items. Reports of Dr. Kleisman.
Good afternoon, President Kelly, members of the board, Phoenicia Homan, Vice President of Academics. While President Klossman is driving, Megan Fisher and I will take care of introducing our couple of reports, and then he'll take over the last one. And so our first report is our Collision and Repair and Refinish Technology Program, and we have our 2 instructors, Mike Wendell and Dana Davis, here to share with you about their program.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Dana Davis.
And Mike Wendell.
And we're with the Collision Technology Program at Southeast Tech on campus. We are in the Edwards Center. That's our primary building where our labs and our classrooms are at. So collision repair technology program is a 2-year degree. So it's 4 semesters of coursework. We are an associate degree program with 65% credits, and then 15 Gen Ed. We also have ICAR Pro Level 1 certification through the ICAR Academy, which is an industry certification. Also the ASE Automotive Service Excellence Foundation, and as well as NATEF associated with. So for faculty, it's myself on the collision side and Mike on the refinish side. So Mike Wendell, about 45 years or so experience in the industry. So ASE certification, PPG, and Exalta. And those are our refinish lines, the products that we use with students on vehicles. Myself, about 32 years experience, ASE and ICAR certifications for non-structural repair. And then we have Tracy Nielsen, our lab specialist, and he is about 45 years in for experience, so we have a very, very heavy bench as far as experience for students in our program. So objectives, to be able to teach students technology, critical thinking, communication, and professionalism. So our focus on technology is that they can demonstrate proper use of the industry and tools and equipment, which we provide for them in the lab setting. Critical thinking, we also want them to be able to think on their own, think kind of proactively. So diagnose and operational systems and components, as well as to determine and execute proper repair procedures and guidelines, which they would have to go by in industry as well. And communication, kind of demonstrating interpersonal communication, involving industry concepts, being able to communicate their ideas and be able to communicate information in regards to the vehicles, terminology, being able to understand the terminology that we have in industry as well. And then professionalism. So we want them to be able to be on that program track to be professional. So time management, productivity skills, to be able to meet industry expectations. So program curriculum, first semester, they have 1 Gen Ed for that semester. And they also have a student success class that they take. But the first setup for students when they enter the program is to go through the intro to auto body repair and safety. And then they also have the auto body lab as well for that. So we have a lecture course, and then we have a lab to complement that course. Then they also take welding. Automotive welding is specialized, so we offer certifications for ICAR. So they take an entire semester learning how to do special types of welding, riveting, and that type of equipment. In the second semester, again, they have a Gen Ed requirement, usually it's mathematics. Then we move into the more advanced stuff on the body side, so stationary panel and frame. And then they also have a lab for that as well. So they complement each other. It's about 1 hour in lecture, and they spend about 3 hours in lab time. And then on 1 day a week, they do suspension and repair planning, which also includes technology, such as ADAS. Cars are very advanced now, so we've taken and added to our program to be able to encompass those types of technologies as well. So.
Okay, I am the second-year teacher as of right now anyway. If we have too many students, then we take them wherever we can fit them. So some years I have first and second year, and he might have that too. So right now my students are second-year students. They have a Gen Ed just like his do. Usually mine's computer for the first semester. Electrical and AC is taught over in auto. And then surface prep, spray equipment, and I have a refinish lab. Also for frag credits, both of us in that first semester, we are pretty heavy on safety, especially that first 2 weeks. We want them to stay in the industry a long time, keep paying Social Security so I can collect it. We want to keep them healthy for as long as we can. Fourth semester, you see that on your screen, natural science, social science, culture and blending, my favorites, and a lab, and then an internship. We got to be able to match the color of the car and know how to blend it out so you can't see the repair. And we do that out in the lab. And then our internship, they go for a 40-hour week. Most of the students already are working in a shop. So they go there for a week. I go around, visit them. There's a form that the employer has to fill out and give us their feedback on how they did for that week.
So our program enrollment has kind of held steady through the first part, I guess, of 2019-18, 2020. As we go through, we've been seeing a decline in some student numbers, and we have a plan to be able to work on that. Our retention rate has come up, held pretty strong there for a while. The thing is, we have a smaller class size this year, so the retention really shows sometimes when you have just a couple students that do not continue on. And then our field placement rate, we've always been at 100%. It did dip down to 92% in the last year. So this next cycle coming through, again, we have a lot of second-year students who are placed prior to being able to leave. And we do have some students that are not from this area, and they relocate somewhere else, either go back home or take opportunities in other places. So, but you can kind of see where things are trending on a day-to-day basis. We do still do a lot of tours. We did one today to sit and talk to prospective parents and students that can come into the program. We also have a plan to be able to kind of identify our own. A lot of people will compare us to auto or lump us in with auto. So we have a way that we're going to be able to kind of separate ourselves out and that we're not lumped in. We have had people say that they weren't even aware that Southeast had a program like this. So we want to be able to take some resources and be able to get just our program word out. And then we have our labs. So on your left-hand side, we have some refinish booths. This is kind of looking backwards at the lab. It used to be the auto section before auto moved over. So we were able to take over. So we actually have 3 paint booths, and we have 6 prep stations to be able to service. Plus we have bays for students to be able to do their general work like sanding and buffing. So the time that they spend, they need to be working on vehicles. We're going to provide them with equipment that's relevant to industry and products that are relevant to industry as well. Our collision lab, we have several frame machines, and we have a repair work area station, and then we also added an aluminum repair section because aluminum has become so prominent in our industry. So as our industry changes, we try to expand and we try to use our facility more wisely as we go along with changes. Program highlights, we've done quite a few projects the last several years I've been there. Owens Outfitters is actually a company where they take donated medical equipment and take it out to underserved communities. And so we were able to work on a project. They had a vehicle donated to them. So we went through it and had several projects that we did. We did some painting, parts replacement. We did some structural work to it to kind of help build up some more of the corrosion that had taken effect there. So we also modified it to be able to accept a ramp. So, and then to be able to tow a trailer. So they have a tow behind trailer now. So for them, it was absolute, he said it was a godsend to be able to have all of that work done. So, and now they can take the vehicle out and serve those communities. We did a Veterans Flag project with welding. So welding went ahead and had some steel plates, and then they used their plasma cutting table and cut out a flag pattern, and then when the finished side, painted each flag a little bit different accents, colors, and then we presented them to the South Dakota Highway Patrol, Sioux Falls Police Department, Sheriff's Office, quite a few.
They auctioned one off or had a drawing for one for the veterans thing on our campus.
So yeah, it was really a cool project, especially we were able to present them right there in our lab, and we had all those groups representing, so it was very nice to participate in that. We also did a side project for the South Dakota Highway Patrol. They had a vehicle that they had part of their fleet for a very long time, and they asked us if we'd be able to refurbish it, so we did a complete paint job on it. It was a tow vehicle that they had very low miles on it, and they just said, what can we do to help us? So we went ahead and refurbished the entire outside, did a bed liner, and then they were able to put it back into service. So then we also do Girl Scouts career exploration events. We did one last June. We're going to do it again coming up this year. So we have the Girl Scouts come in.
We missed one.
Missed one.
The veterans, disabled veterans hunting bus.
Yeah, the Wings of Valor. We also did, kind of like One's Outfitters, they had a vehicle donated to them. And they provide hunting experiences for those that are disabled in a wheelchair. So we had a vehicle that they can use from the lodge out into the field. And we put a wheelchair lift in it, worked on the engine, went and completely painted the entire outside, and they use that every fall when they have special events. So it was a good part to be in that. We had other programs in the school that participate in these as well, but we have our own special work that we do with those vehicles. And then the Girl Scouts exploration, we have them come in, we take them through groups, and we show them opportunities that they might not have thought of. So we have a new spray simulator. So the girls were able to go ahead and put their hands on that. And it started off a little slow, but by the end, they were all in. They were competing against each other. So it was very interactive. And it was a very good way for a school to show off. There's actually a very much a demand for women and their skills in the workforce. So, and then we have ICAR Academy integration. That's new to us. That means that ICAR certification is something that's industry-wide, and shops train their full-time technicians in ICAR. It's for collision work. And now we're on part of the academy, so they can leave with a Pro Level 1 status, which is huge because it costs shops a lot of money to get students. If they complete the entire course and have the welding certification, that's a huge opportunity for them because they're going to walk in with skills already that sometimes it takes people 3 or 4 years to develop. So then we have ADAS calibration, which is vehicle electronics. Cars are sensors, they're computers on wheels. And so we share the information with students on how to deal with these systems and how they relate to what we're going to do when they finish. Calibration and safety is a huge part of cars. So that technology is integrated with our calibration system. We do it with windshields. We do it with pretty much any type of repair work that we do. We pre-scan the vehicle and then post-scan it. And if there's any calibrations, we do our best to make sure that students participate in that process. And then our Sim Spray, this is a fairly new purchase for us, but it's a virtual reality set where they have a gun and goggles, and then submerges you into that paint booth area where students get an opportunity to actually apply product, learn gun techniques, go over those skills before they actually put product in the cup, because that's the expensive part. It's the liquid materials that we have to put on vehicles. So they get an opportunity to kind of see what it's like, and there's certain levels of the program where they can go through a gun distance, gun speed. They can see how much material they're putting on, if they're putting on too much, not enough. So there's lots of stuff we can do. We're going to try to integrate it into our curriculum. Because right now we've been able to have students that have had issues use the simulator, and right away they're picking up their skills. So it's not just for introductory, it's to help students the full entire path through the finished program. So, and then industry resource training. I'm always looking for any kind of resource training we can get, and we also have a lot of people that will come and share their information with students. So we try to make sure that we're well connected. Any questions?
Hold tight. Can I get a motion to acknowledge the collision update?
So moved. Second.
Let me start looking at it.
Questions, comments? Well, something that comes to mind for me is a couple winters ago, we hit a deer at 65 miles an hour. So we had to utilize a collision repair shop. And that particular shop said they only will take Southeast grads as part of their collision professionals. And they did an excellent, outstanding job. So there's a lot you should be proud of. What?
Body shop, by any chance?
Yes, that I thought I would let you all know. Yeah.
I might have known that.
Every one of their technicians has graduated from their youngest on, so they've been a huge supporter and involved with our program for a long time.
Yep, they have. They just had so many great things to say. So you should have a lot of pride in the program that you've built and the graduates that you're putting out in the world. Our car turned out meticulous. So
Just a quick thanks as a Girl Scouts Dakota Horizon board member for including our young ladies in something like this. That's really, really special. So thanks for doing that initiative. Hopefully I can come see it next time. I didn't even know that was a part of what we did. So
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's a great event.
Yeah.
It really worked out well, and this year we hope that we can keep growing it.
is it coming up still or?
We're going to do it this summer.
Okay, I'll keep my eye out for it.
Yeah, we coordinate with Girl Scouts, and they get to go through certain sections. We have auto involved, collision, and other programs just to give them that hands-on.
Neat.
So yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
I'm curious about, sorry, Gail. I'm curious about, you had some specific projects that you were talking about, but how many cars do students go, work on throughout the course of a semester or a year? And, where do they all come from? Or do you just like beat a car up and then repair it again? Or how does this work?
Students are a resource. He'll actually cycle through more work than I do because we do a lot of the more complicated type items. I get emails and phone calls all the time. I turn a lot of people away because I have a class size that I can't accept a lot of things. We have huge support from our campus, from faculty, and from employees. We're always having projects related to that. So,
I actually put out an email on campus, every student, every faculty member. That's a small city.
Yeah.
So, and they talk to their neighbors, and it expands from there. And I can always count on him. He's going to wreck something every year. There's a dent in everything. It is almost every year. As far as repetition, was one of your questions. On average, my students probably go through 4 or 5 different vehicles every semester. Their progress chart where you fill out what you do, they are maxed out at 100 points. I maxed it out at 120 for extra credit. Half my class is over 100 by midterm because there's so much repetition. Of course, the better students are faster, so theirs is a lot higher. Those are the guys who are working in shops.
And that's when it's important because the students are going to leave and head right out in industry. I do a lot more of the basics, so I work a lot on donations. We just had Sturdy Events donate a ton of parts to us. So we work taking those parts, and each student gets their own, so they get that opportunity to work on that. So once they get more comfortable in their skills, then I'm a little more confident bringing in live work. But the whole goal is to get them set up where they're doing live work. They're able to do that customer start to finish. Get the feeling that they've had good accomplishment in completing the project. So.
That was my question. So, thank you.
You answered my first question on ICAR, but can you explain to me what ICAR certification really is or involves? What it means?
So ICAR is a industry certification that most insurance companies now require shops to be a part of it. And it's the highest level of training, the most current level of training that you can have. And it goes from basic all the way up to advanced structural. So we got together with ICAR Academy because they restructured their program, and now they offer a lot more, and it's integrated well into what we do. So we can basically pick those programs up. It's the same type of testing and modules that technicians have to view, because actually some of the modules I did not too long ago out in industry. So it's a lot of that same material. And it's, again, building upon having the certification and having the knowledge. So my ICAR number, I've gotten it 32 years ago. And it's the same ICAR number I have. So when students get on the ICAR Academy, they're given their number. And then from that point on, they can build. And once they're done with our school, then they can move on to a shop where they can move into level 2.
If you go to a shop,
Level 3.
that's those patches you see on your
Oh,
arms.
okay.
That's what most of those
No,
are, is
the-
ICAR patches.
ICAR Gold or ICAR Platinum, they'll usually advertise that as, to a customer. And that's the highest level of certification that you can have, which means that you're able to work on everything that comes to the door. You have great understanding of electronics, you have great understanding of structure, you have great understanding of refinish, and then our refinish companies will also provide certifications too for the refinish side of it. So the main thing is that the safety, so to have that level, you need to have that level of training. So we're really happy to be incorporated now with that. This is my first full year running that program here, so.
Yeah, there's some combustion that could take place if people aren't careful, most definitely. That makes sense.
The other thing I was going to say is I'm really proud that our graduates get their Associate of Science degree because safety is such an issue. That was going to be my other comment that, and with these cars getting lighter, they're not the tanks that our parents used to drive. And safety is a big issue. And to know that our graduates are so well trained is just awesome. So thank you.
I used to drive a tank, Gail.
I still do.
Well, good. Anybody else? Well, thank you,
Thank you.
all. It was very informative. And again, what a great reputation the program has in our city and probably the region. I'm just familiar with the city and the feedback that we get. You're putting out some great graduates that have fabulous careers, and it all starts with your program. So you're doing good work. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Megan, are you going to introduce the accessibility services update?
Good afternoon, President Kelly and board members. I'm Megan Fisher. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Affairs at Southeast Tech. And it's my pleasure to introduce our next presenter, Elizabeth Harder. Elizabeth has been at Southeast Tech for 18 years, and she's worn a lot of different hats in that time. And right now she's serving as one of our student success advisors and specifically our accessibility services area. So that's what she's going to be updating with you today.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. As Megan said, my name is Elizabeth, and I have been at Southeast Tech for a duration. I have actually graduated. I just haven't been there for the 18 years, but I have had the wonderful opportunity to work with a very specialized population at Southeast Tech that I would like to share with you today. And feel free to ask any questions during the session as well. If I say something that may seem like, can you clarify? Please just ask. So the purpose of my area is to ensure that students receive equal access to both their academic and co-curricular activities while they're attending Southeast Tech. So as they come forward is to make the playing field equal as they're coming into their programs. And that's really important because as they transition out of high school into college, those accommodations look very different as they go up from that to the next level. So during that time, the students, and what my goal is to have them learn how to advocate for themselves, learn to use their voice so that they can talk about what they need so they become more proficient in being able to articulate as professionals in their field to their employers. So I'm here to help them kind of do that crossover, and I work in conjunction with all of my colleagues sitting in the room right here. Last year I was here and I was like so excited about my numbers, but I'm hoping to blow the top of that so you can see that what has happened since last year.
So as far as accessibility services, the student does have to have a diagnosis so that they can qualify for services at the post-secondary. So that's required. The other thing that I probably want to stress upon this as well is as we are cultivating the students become professionals and learning to articulate, this is also when they start advocating for themselves at a very different level, and that really begins with their faculty members. So I am very grateful for the faculty side because they coach them through that, and so that integration of having that communication has been amazing on our staff. So I want to do a quick shout out to the faculty because they are so welcoming when they are working sometimes with some very challenging personalities or situations for those accommodations that we have to become very creative about. So, my numbers, I'm so excited. So last year, I had an 18% increase of people who are using accommodations. This year, I am at a whopping 44.1%. So when I say that we was hoping to get the word out that you can be successful in the post-secondary, the news went out. So I'm super proud of that. And so with that, along comes everything that encompasses having more students who know they can now come to post-secondary and be successful and compete in the job market. So super excited. So let me show you how those numbers came about. I might tend to get a little animated because I'm pretty excited about this. So it might slow me down a little bit. So one of the things that, or one of the factors that we have going for Southeast Tech is that we use a program called Navigate. Navigate is our communication system that we use in order for connecting all of the different pieces and departments across campus so that we are creating a network for the students. And so some of the explosion that I have had when it comes to having more people to service is because that system is working well for us. So that collaboration across campus, we do what's called early alerts 4 weeks into the semester, where we look at students who are having like C's, D's, and F's in those first 4 weeks. So we want to go in there right away and try to get them self-corrected, like figure out what the resources we need to do. Do we connect them to the ARC? Do we, so that process is really important because the referrals that come in from the instructors that says, please reach out to this student. I think they may have a service, because you can't ask directly, but you can say, I'd really like to be connected to accommodations. So the referrals just really start coming in that 4th week. In that same time frame, I have students who have started coming to Southeast Tech who may have not reached out to me to have those accommodations already in place. And so normally the thought process for those students is they want to try it without accommodations. And I really applaud that. What I try to encourage students to do when I'm out there talking to parents and doing the visit days and all that is that I would rather have all the documentation and everything kind of in place. So if they want to activate it, we can just kick it into gear. But in this process, so I have the students who are now coming forward and saying, I think I need some assistance. And I'm like, yep, let's get you going. And then I have the referrals coming in from the instructors, and that has definitely just been amazing. So you'll see the little spectrum. I call it the kaleidoscope. I can remember, I'm going to age myself on that one a little bit. So in the past, typically there's programs that have been heavy-based for students who have accommodations. So media production, computer programming, computer security, LPNs, RNs. Those were like my 5 heavy hitters every year. Okay, those were kind of my standards. Worked with those faculty on a regular basis. As you notice now from what you're seeing is I have the whole spectrum of programs coming in, which is creating some amazing interactive processes, not only for the students, but for me, for challenges and opportunities to get creative how to accommodations in different types of programs. So what might be working in a clinical setting for one student is not going to work for an auto tech over here. They may have the same exact diagnosis, but that's not how it necessarily plays out. So with this has come a lot of time for me to work in collaboration with my peers across campus, putting a lot of different hats on. I have to give a shout out to IT because with this, a lot of our students have reading programs, dyslexia, anything that slows them down for that testing process. With new softwares, with new technology coming out, this has also had me really reaching out to my counterparts to go, okay, we have a new type of test. How can we make this work for the student? So you can tell I'm pretty excited about this. So the whole Navigate process and just, again, the additional referrals that I have, which I'll talk about the other components that come into factor here, is that along with that, that means our testing facilities have also jumped up. That's just a pretty picture. I'm going to give you the numbers. So the increase of the testing rooms, there are two different versions of the testing center on the Southeast Tech campus. There's the testing center, which is mass population, and then there's the testing room, which is more specialized. We will allow 4 to 6 testers at a time versus a room of 30 or a high stakes room of 9. So when they come in to do their testing, it is more quiet, less distractions. Obviously, that's going to be the main thing. And so that environment immediately decreases the anxiety that most of our students and our society right now has when it comes to test taking. And the performance difference really makes them just breathe when they can come into an area that's more calm. So anywhere for a person who may have, I have a standing location for my people who need to move around a little bit, so we have a standing location. We have a specific area that's for low impact for eye strain. So we dim the lights, we have different screens for them. So we can customize how that experience is going to play out. In addition, that's when I turn to my IT and say, I have a new different type of test that I need some help resetting up so that the readers can read the test. So those are some insights of what happens in the testing center or the testing room. And so that experience for them makes them more confident to continue to get those better grades because they know they have that extra time and they have that, if they need that reading software, to be able to comprehend what's actually being asked and not guessing what they're trying to read. Was there any questions about that part of it? I could pause for a minute. So the holistic approach that I wrote down here on the bottom is the instructors and accommodation services are exploring new ways almost on a daily basis to improve that testing experience and anything with accommodations that is connected to that world to make sure that that equal access is taking place. Also, it is also the smoother transition, the more that we can have that technology in place or any other type of services, the smoother it is for them to focus on their academics, which is what we're all about. Okay, so that's really the big part, but they're working with the instructors, with me, and with the technology, so that's when they're really learning those professional skills of how to communicate and being able to voice what they need, so that when we put them out in the field, they're ready to hit the ground and really showing what they are as professionals. Trends of growth, we are seeing an increase of seeking post-secondary. So when we're doing Catch the Wave conferences, when I'm doing the parent meetings, that they did actually in this building, the Parent Connections meeting, just being able to be out there and letting people know that they can come to the post-secondary and be successful, that there's venues for them to work within. So our outreach partners have been amazing. Our holistic collaboration across campus, like I said, I mentioned the equal access for our students. So activities, if we need to have a sign, so our graduation, we have the interpreters there. If they're doing an event and someone lets Callie and the student engagement group know that they need something like a wheelchair or something there, they just reach out to me and I make sure that they can participate as well. Technology, obviously increasingly a challenge as well as a blessing. So the AI revolution is really impacting my area and we're learning new stuff every day. So right now, and I say it later on, but I'm going to just bring it up now, I am learning a whole new world when it comes to students who are fully blind or low vision. So I am currently working with the South Dakota Rehab for the blind. And so I'm learning technology that just blows my mind. So, and that was only my first session. So it's been great. And then, of course, a lot of our other groups that we work with, both externally and internally. So I want to really talk about those external partnerships that we have out there. The Parent Connection is something that I presented at and was here in this building back in September. And just letting parents know what are available at the post-secondary. That's really important because as students come from the high school to the college level, one, they may not know that we even exist. So that's just to let them know that and what the process is. And this is also where I have to let parents know they're going to have to start letting go, which is sometimes a harder transition than the students who are so excited to come to college and say, see ya, Mom and Dad, thanks for everything for the last 12 years. So this is really an important transition, not only for the parents to know what's going to happen, but also to educate them in that process. Admissions recruitment stage, obviously make it be very visual during that time frame so that students can see and talk and they can meet me that day. So I'm not just a screen up on the podium when they're coming through to see everything. They can actually see and come up and ask me questions. One of the other partners that we have is the Strive Teach Well program. And this is something we've been kind of cultivating for the last couple of years. I've been working with Taylor and her crew. I am proud to announce that we have someone graduating this spring from Southeast Tech, and they're in the CIS programming. He has been amazing, so he'll be a wonderful asset to whatever company that he ends up being employed by. We also have another student who is graduating with the programming this spring. And then I had someone who was supposed to graduate, but they decided to double major. So they're going to go on for another year, which again is just showing you how comfortable and how proud they are of being successful at this level. Many times a lot of students are told that they never should be able to go to college. This is showing that that's not the truth. So, and then in our current group of Strive students, I have two that are who are coming into our program fully this fall, which is the horticulture, and I think the other one was collision. So guys, oh, they're gone. So they're coming in transitioning. They're a dual role, and then they come over, hopefully, then to come into Southeast Tech. So I just want to give a shout out to that program. They work very hard and very closely with their students. I also work very closely with Dakota Link. They are our technology gurus out there in the community that we work with. And so in conjunction with working with vocal rehab on a regular basis, typically it's vocal rehab, Dakota Link, and I. And now adding to that is the Rehabilitation Center for the Blind. And like I said, that's just a whole new world that just opened up to me. So that is my newest partnership that we're cultivating right now. And again, we continue to do Catch the Wave conference. If you are not familiar with that, that's when all of the high schools will come to our different schools. And we as a team of accommodations across the board from my colleagues, we are present to let them know the difference between a 2-year and a 4-year, and just that opportunity to, and this is specialized just for students who are on IEPs or disabilities of some sort. So it's really just this gathering ground for them to see all the resources that are available. It's a very powerful time for them to see what's all there, and it has all of the resources of our off-campus and community members working together. Again, collaboration, it takes a team, we're all there together. Oh, and that was just the numbers of who all attended this year. So the vendors are a variety of the resources as well as other schools as we're working together. Our goal is to make this population feel welcome, and so it's all inclusive for them. And then within my own team at Southeast Tech, all my partners, I just absolutely love them. So the Academic Resource Center is our tutoring center on campus, and they service everyone, but when people are transitioning from high school, where they're having that one-on-one with their high school counselors and their resource room, they just now put it on steroids, okay? So they are now comfortable knowing that they can get assistance. It's open door policy for them where they're spread throughout the campus. But I make sure that they're connected if they're needing to learn how to break down and become more effective study habits, study strategies, things like that. So that department is amazing. The clinical settings, that has really grown because of that kaleidoscope that you saw. I am working a lot more with their medical programs and trying to figure out how to do some of the accommodations in that setting because it's restrictive with FERPA, HIPAA, technology. So for instance, my students who have type 1 diabetes and their monitor is connected to their phone, phones are not allowed at clinicals. So we had to figure out how does this work where we can make this happen so that there's safety for everyone and still keeping within that framework of privacy. So working with the medical programs, working with our side areas, we've come to have a plan. And each program is very different. So it's the fun part. That's what I consider the fun part of my job. So the clinical setting, the LPM programs, they have a specialized testing platform that they use for ATI. So had to kind of learn that in the progress of everything else. I also talk and work with the new faculty. So I'm asked to come in to our new onboarding instructors to let them know who I am and what I do. And when they see the letters of what accommodations is, they aren't afraid to say, Elizabeth, I don't know what this means. What do I do? Absolutely, let me come over. So I love that part. And I'm working with our compliance officer. We split up how pregnancy accommodations are done on our campus. So everything comes into my landing page, and then Jim and I work in collaboration to figure out, is it going to fall under my area or is it going to fall under his area? So that's been a really nice new relationship that's built this last year. Our healthcare programs, as I mentioned before, continuing to work and educating faculty and then my knowledge. So when we do program updates at our IE programming day and stuff like that, I try to go to as many as I can to hear what's going on in everybody else's. It's not them just coming to me. I need to go out to them and figure out what they're doing so that I can anticipate what I'm going to be looking for in accommodations for a person. So a good example the other day was someone who had surgery on their leg, and they have to do a lot of standing in their program. So we had to figure out how are we going to do that because they need to be on their feet for the scanning or whatever it is that they needed to do. So it allowed me to work with that collaboration, and not only with the student, but with the instructors who I'd never worked with before, to say, okay, how can we make this work? Because it was a temporary accommodation. It wasn't a lifelong thing. It was something that happened that we had to figure out on the fly. And then just overall, just a shout out to the programs and the faculty that I work with. I have tried to make myself very visible, and I try to get in front of the groups as much as I can so they know who to reach out to if they're struggling. And then IT support, I can't go without a day having Caleb and IT and Adam on my speed dial. So it just shows you what it takes to make sure that those students are getting the best experience. I am more than happy to offer any questions, or I mean not offer, but any questions you may have.
Stand by 1 second. Can I please get a motion to acknowledge the accessibility services update? So moved.
Second.
Questions, observations, feedback?
I'm really that good? Awesome. Great.
Well, you certainly, the efforts that you and really intention that you put around giving students the freedom to explore areas that they never thought were possible makes a difference in their lives, and we're all better for that in that they become working professionals in our community, and we're lucky to have them. And often the small tweaks that you can make that allow a whole different horizon available to them is it sounds like and is the mission and what you serve every day, and we're seeing the fruits of that labor. So appreciated hearing about it.
I love seeing the students walk across the stage and the parents who are just so proud.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your time. Is
I
there any
think we have one more.
I was also just going to thank you for the work that you do and making our programs out there so accessible to all the kids, because that's, sorry, the students. So that's really what it's about. And Nan said it better than I'm bumbling about here, so, but thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth.
Enjoy the weather.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That has been acknowledged. Thank you. And we have one last report, the cost-sharing agreement with CDAC. And I think
Yeah.
Corey,
And we'll-
exactly.
Yes, I will do that one, and I think Eric is going to help run the slides for me as well. So this will be a conversation about our housing that we have on campus currently and where we're going to go from here. And just to help with that, I want to give a little bit of context and history here first, because I think that really helps lay the foundation for kind of where do we go from here. So if you want to go to that first slide, Eric. So by state statute, none of the technical colleges are allowed to own any student housing on campus. And so as the college was exploring what to do, a nonprofit was created that has a board number of 5 members, and all 5 of them are unaffiliated with the college currently. We have 2 different on-campus housing units. They're connected with a link in between. And so the first one, Hummel Nicolay Hall, opened in 2003, and then Andera Hall, as well as the Link, what we affectionately call the Link, opened in 2005. And so between them, they can house 202 students currently. But we had over 200 students on the wait list for this past fall, in addition to having student housing being full. And so the Housing Foundation had recognized, at least back until 2018, which is as far back in records as I could find, and so they may have even been talking about it before that, about how can they explore or how can we expand housing on campus. So it's been a conversation that they've been having for a long time. And we are finding as a college that our personnel are increasingly spending more and more time over in housing as well, whether it's for IT needs, whether it's to help out with facilities, whether it's just overall staffing. And so just thinking about how do we help with that wait list. We know that it's just also becoming a lot of work on the college side. And so what's the right path forward? And so our current strategic plan that this group approved this past fall identified expanding housing options as a priority area. It was also in the last strategic plan as well, and I think it may have been in the strategic plan before that one as well. And so we were in conversations with many different partners, at least 4 different possible partners, on how could we move forward with a priority given to how could an external partner really take over the day-to-day management of it, since we feel like operating housing and managing housing really isn't the mission of a technical college. And so if we could devote those human resources back to educating and supporting our students, that would be really beneficial. And then conversations with all of those possible vendors, the thing that came out is, given current construction costs, the only way that it becomes feasible for anybody to construct additional housing on campus is if they owned and operating not just new housing, but also the current housing that exists on campus as well, those 202 units where students currently live. And so through all those conversations, the partner that came out as the best option for the college is Pinnacle Real Estate, or their nonprofit arm, which is called the Community Development Alliance Corporation, or CDAC. And so we had many different partners. CDAC actually was going to construct housing down at USD up until a couple of years ago. That ended up falling through when USD decided not to move forward due to a decline in enrollment down on their main campus in Vermillion. But it was through no nothing wrong with CDAC. And they actually own over $4 billion in college and university housing across the U.S. and Canada. So it's something that they are very familiar with and something that they do all the time. And so thinking about next steps and where to go from here, the Housing Foundation Board last week voted to approve moving forward with a sale of their current properties, the two current residence hall or on-campus student housing, to CDAC. In that structure, CDAC would purchase those buildings and assume the current debt that is on those buildings. They would partner with McGough Construction, which obviously is a local company, to construct somewhere between 100 and 200 beds. As part of the process this spring, they would do a needs analysis to determine what exactly is that number, whether it should be 100 or 150 or closer to the 200, with the capability to do even more as college enrollment grew or as just the demonstrated need for additional housing increased as well. They could do that with a long-term land lease with the college to build on college property. And we do have some land already. If you know where the current housing is on the west side of campus, kind of on the Jefferson side of campus, there's a big lot of land right behind that that has been set aside for additional housing, so toward Jefferson as well. So that's where we would have the room to construct as much housing as the college would absolutely ever need. They would then partner with a management company to oversee all of the campus housing, and they would be open to retaining our current staff as well. So the two full-time employees that currently work over there would have the opportunity to continue on with them as well. And besides the management, the other main benefit to the college would be because CDAC would own the buildings. They would have all the financial liability that would go along with those buildings as well. But because they are a nonprofit, they are obviously not allowed to make a profit. And so at the end of every single fiscal year, any profit that had been generated or any revenue above any of the operating costs would be returned to the college. And so obviously we want to make sure that we are keeping the price of student housing as affordable and in line as possible. So we don't want this to be a moneymaker, but it also just underscores that going with a nonprofit or staying with a nonprofit, pricing would stay in line because there's no benefit to them to generating extra money. We want to make sure that costs are stayed as low, and so it's in their interest as well to make sure that costs would stay as low as possible for students as well. And then at the end of any bond payment, when the bonds are paid off, the buildings would be returned to the college. They are not allowed to keep the properties, and so they would return them to the college or an entity of the college's choosing. Obviously, with current state law, the college would not be allowed to own those buildings, but we could at that point choose to turn it over to a different nonprofit. It could go under the Southeast Tech Foundation. We could choose to continue with CDAC as well, but that would be something that we could choose in 30 or 35 years when those bonds are paid off. What I didn't mention is those bonds would be underwritten by Goldman Sachs, so it has a very legitimate and large company that would be helping with that bonding process as well. And so as we go on to timeline, if we move forward with this, they would go through the design and needs assessment process this spring. The financial close on the buildings of the sale of the current buildings from the Housing Foundation, that Southeast Tech Housing Foundation, to CDAC would take place right around July 1. And that is also the time where we could do a groundbreaking on the new building already. They estimate that it'd be a 12-month build time. And so by next summer, CDAC could take possession of the new buildings. That way new students could move in already in fall of 27, which would work really well as we think about the Abner Center could be open hopefully by fall of 27, if not spring of 28, but we'll start to see an increase in enrollment from those programs, as well as with the Wells Fargo building opening up in 27 as well. Having additional capacity for fall of 27 works out really well from timing of academic programs as well. But this fall already, even without the new building, by purchasing the current buildings, CDAC would take over management of the current buildings that we do have. And that would be a really close relationship. They would have an advisory council as well as a governance board as well that the college would have seats on. We would meet with them once or twice a month with the leadership of CDAC. And so from talking to references at other institutions that have worked directly with CDAC, they have said that that arrangement has worked absolutely wonderful as well. And so we obviously hope and expect that that arrangement would work well for us as well. So if we go on to the next slide with next steps, the next step is a risk share agreement. And so with the design phase being the next phase, CDAC has asked us to enter into a risk share agreement, so which states that they will pay for all the costs of design, architectural design and planning of the new building. As long as it goes to close, they will continue to pay that. But the risk share agreement says that for whatever reason we don't break ground on the new property, any costs that had been occurred, the college would have to reimburse to CDAC, although we would receive the architectural plans that had gone along with it. Obviously, we would only have to pay the costs that had been occurred, not costs that could potentially have been incurred. So kind of whenever, if there would be a break, it would just be a hard stop and we'd only pay for what had been done already. CDAC said that they have never had this occur in their history, so they don't anticipate it being an issue, but it's something they do just to help cover themselves as well. And so we have received a draft of that. It is currently with the college's legal counsel. Just received a draft back, which he just, we worked with Sam Kerr, who specializes in higher ed law. He had some suggestions to just kind of expand on most of the language in there, but keeping kind of the main themes of it as well. So we'll forward that back to CDAC for their comments as well. They expect a worst case scenario to be roughly 300,000, maybe a little more than 300,000. They're still working together, putting together final costs, but they estimate it to be kind of right in that range if it were a worst case scenario. And so that would be what we'd be asking for as a next step. And so on the last slide, our recommendation and my ask of the board would be for your approval for the college to enter into this risk sharing agreement with CDAC. That would only be signed once it has been given the go-ahead and the approval of legal counsel and with the board president as well. So that way she could have a chance to review it as well from a board perspective as well. And if anybody else would want to see it, I'd be happy to share that as well. So with that, I will stand by for any questions.
Okay, we're first gonna stand by for questions, Corey. We're first going to get this on the table. Can I have a motion to approve the agreement with CDAC?
So moved.
Second. We're gonna open up for questions and comments and feedback.
Well, this is Gail, and I have a comment first and a question. And I know how hard it is to kind of create an idea and see it come to fruition. And so I really commend the Housing Foundation for working this out and thank them for what they did to make this possible. My question is, so I'm not fully updated on this, but I think that there has been some deferred maintenance and repair in the current housing units. I'm wondering if the new partner will, I see they're taking over in August, so will they also be updating those housing units as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll answer that in two parts. I would say the Housing Foundation, the board has done a really good job over the last year and a half or so of really catching up on a lot of that deferred maintenance, particularly with new siding and windows, doing a lot of work on the floors and new carpet and some of the aesthetics and paint as well. And so they've caught up on a lot of it, which we really appreciate and has been noticed by students. Once they purchase the buildings, they would take over all of that as well. They do bake into their bonding estimates, which they put at $22 million, which would be the cost of a new building, taking over the assumed debt, as well as the $500,000 if there's any deferred maintenance that they would need to catch up on and do, they would take over all of that work or risk as well.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Corey, are the other tech schools in South Dakota involved in programs such as these?
So Mitchell also has a third party own and operate their housing that they have on campus there, and it has worked well for them. Neither Western Dakota nor Watertown Lake area currently have housing, although Western Dakota is looking into it and is actually going to have some exploration talks with CDAC as well. I hope it's okay for me to say that publicly. They're just exploring, but they are getting ready to have conversations with them as well.
One other thing, and I'm not a legal expert about anything and don't want to be, but I would assume, for me, it almost seems too good. I mean, from what I've gathered over the last few months, what you've talked about. So is it as good as it sounds? I mean, I think it's just shocking to me that this can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's.
It's.
Go ahead, Corey.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, it's funny you say that, Mark, because we have had that conversation internally a lot as well, both as a college leadership team with the Housing Foundation Board as well. And so we have done a lot of asking of questions and talking to other college and university partners that they have just to make sure it all kind of checks out and that things seem as good as what they appear to be. And every answer that we have received has been nothing but positive. And we've definitely tried to approach this from a skeptical viewpoint just to make sure that it really does all check out and we're not kind of going into it with rose-colored glasses. But every answer that we have received back has just reaffirmed what it is that we have wondered about or inquired about and hoped were true.
And that's why I want to acknowledge that what we approved tonight is still pending final approval by both the council and myself in conversation with you all. So that's an important component to it. And we're not going to sign anything that just is too good to be true. It's got to be true. Yeah.
I don't have any questions. I was just going to say I do want to see it because, of course, the devil's in the details.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I assumed you would probably want to, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corey, Rich Nazer is here. Do you want to introduce Rich or do you want me to? He's saying no. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was going to say, so those who don't know Rich, he is with McGuff Construction. who would be the partner, the local construction partner for CDAC. And so I think one of the things that really helped with some of that comfortability in are things as good as what they appear to be is knowing that there would be a local partner and somebody within the Sioux Falls area that we knew, both that we knew and trusted, but also somebody that we could also go to locally if we had questions, I think was just an added benefit of this.
So I would like, for the board's benefit, for Rich to come up and introduce himself with McGough, because he is the local representative, and he's been, come on up, Rich. I'll let you introduce yourself. Give him a little background about you, how long you've been here, maybe your college, all that.
Oh, okay. Rich Naser, McGough Construction. So we would be the general contractor on this project. We have had an office in Sioux Falls for the last 5 years. We're a 70-year-old general contractor, headquartered out of St. Paul, Minnesota. We're in 7 states and 12 regional offices, but done a significant amount of multifamily and student housing projects across the company. Very familiar with Pinnacle and their development group, and just appreciate the opportunity to be that local resource for the school district and the technical college, and happy to answer questions. We're the builder, not the developer, but yeah.
Rich, you're from South Dakota originally.
Oh yeah, yep. So yeah, I've been in Sioux Falls since 1991. Spent a lot of time out by Southeast Technical College. Actually ran the Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship, which is now your accelerated nursing, or your nursing simulation building. I won't tell you what we built that for because it was significantly less than what you can build buildings for today, but I've been in economic development and community development here for the last 20 plus years. So if we're going to go. Yep.
Prior to that, he worked for the chamber, and then you're SDSU grad.
Yes, I am SCSU. Yep.
Yeah.
Really mad.
That,
Well, we've
I don't
got
know if that's a good thing or
USD,
bad thing.
SDSU. She wears her blue proudly. I think we're just
Yep.
here to support kids and
Yep,
families.
just here in
that
case there are
Southeast.
questions, but I think Corey answered them all, so, yep,
Thanks for
Any
sharing.
questions?
thank you.
Good. Thank you. Okay, Corey, I think any other questions? Corey, anything else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That has been approved with the wherewithal that you all will continue to do the due diligence. This just allows them to go one step farther. All right, anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Our next meeting will be April 1st at 4 o'clock.